Is the collapse of the Iranian regime coming soon? And if so, what would it look like? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Aren't you just tired of living through historic times? Honestly, spending a couple hundred years stuck in purgatory sounds downright decompressing right about now. With so much happening all around the world, I have to keep refreshing my timeline just to keep up with the news. I'm finger tapping quicker than a prog rock lead guitarist. All thanks to Iran. It's been going through some bigly changes lately. As a matter of fact, Iran has gone from world menace to an utterly broken and weak shadow of its former self. Emphasis on broken. How telling that former Iranian allies like Syria and Lebanon are now just silently watching from the sidelines as missiles fly by. In this conflict, without a doubt, Israel has the upper hand. It took Iran completely off guard and left it paralyzed, but without any of the benefits of being paralyzed, like getting better parking, which is extra insulting since Israel is turning large swaths of Iran into a massive parking lot. What happened before things went south is Israeli special forces had managed to slip into Iran, built drones from within, and then launched them to devastating effect. There were no pagers, but they did get the job done. That was followed up with tons of precision strikes against Iran that have either taken out or damaged tons of Iran's defenses, missiles, and more. Israel's attacks are aggressively covering everything like Iranian morality on a woman they think is improperly dressed. This also includes damage to Iran's much-prized nuclear facilities and the killing of some of its top military and nuclear scientists. This has resulted in a rare case of many Arabs cheering for Israel, saying that it's doing the job Arabs were too afraid of doing. It's like that heartbreaking, the worst person you know just made a great point article came to life and started dropping bombs. And then, of course, there's Trump. He's always fun when thrown into the mix. It seems like Trump wasn't kidding when he said Iran should have signed a deal. What chapter is fire missiles from in Art of the Deal? Now he's warning people to evacuate Tehran. Advice I'm sure tons of people are taking, judging by these roads looking like Los Angeles traffic at, well, any time of the day, really. As a matter of fact, Trump sees a really big opportunity here, something far better than a ceasefire.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end, a real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent.
Yeah, or giving up entirely.
Is that okay too?
And he wants to drive that idea home, claiming on Truth Social, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran." "We have control of the skies" is close enough to Old Man Yells at Clouds, so I'll say this is another prediction from The Simpsons. He also bragged, "We know exactly where the so-called Supreme Leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but is safe there. We're not going to take him out. Kill, at least for now." Surely that's all Trump had to say. Unconditional surrender. I just can't stop clicking. So how did all this happen? Well, Iran completely miscalculated and misread both Israel and the US in so many ways. DC-based think tank Hudson Institute points out Iran misread American criticism of Israel's Gaza operations, thinking that the US would block Israel's escalation. Yeah, because if the last 20 months of the US telling Israel, "No, please stop," has shown us anything, it's that the US is firm in telling Israel what to do. Additionally, Iran thought Israel was too overstretched and too focused on domestic issues. Tehran discounted the idea that Israel could conduct a complex, multi-domain operation deep inside Iranian territory. Iran also didn't recognize that Israel's past operations, like the Hezbollah pager attacks and the assassination of Hamas and Hezbollah leadership, were part of a broader campaign. Iran really went from "there's no way" to "I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game." Iran also failed to adapt to the new situation on the ground. Not only have Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis been getting totally clobbered more than wrestling's Triple H, but Syria has collapsed, taking down Iran's supply lines and regional deterrence with it. Another issue Hudson Institute points out is that Iran seriously underestimated Trump. Iran thought Trump's 2-month deadline to reach a new nuclear deal was just all talk, that it wouldn't need to worry about any real consequences. Iranian officials believed Washington's return to talks signaled weakness and assumed they could extract sanctions relief without making meaningful concessions on uranium enrichment. Oops. By now, the world should know that the only thing you can expect from Trump is you never know what to expect, except for him drinking an alarming amount of Diet Coke. But things are different now, and the tables have completely changed. Now there's serious talk of regime change in Iran. Is it considered polite to ask what pronouns they prefer after the transition? A Knesset member who sits on the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee said, "Regime change is not in the official goals of the war. But unofficially, I think that's what everybody hopes for." Not the goal, but what everyone hopes for. Kind of like seeing a crash when watching the Daytona 500. Now, not everyone who hears regime change is fond of that thought. Many, like Tucker Carlson and Bernie Sanders, are against the idea. By the way, make a wish, because those two agreeing on something is rarer than a shooting star. Conservative pundit Charlie Kirk argues that this would cause more conflict, kill hundreds of thousands, and create another massive Muslim refugee crisis. It's also no surprise that the first thing that comes to lots of people's minds when hearing this is George W. Bush's invasion of Iraq and other past regime changes. Oh no, please tell me Trump isn't commissioning a mission accomplished banner. Now, I'm not going to get into the arguments over whether regime change in Iran is worth it. That's up to you to decide. But one thing that's worth considering is what would happen if the current Iranian regime fell. What comes after? Keep in mind that just killing the Ayatollah wouldn't be enough to collapse the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's not like he's the head vampire and everyone would be freed once he's been staked. Iran is a clerical regime that has its assembly of experts, 88 Islamic clerics who are responsible for electing Iran's supreme leader. But say the entire theological system, along with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, collapses. What then? This is just speculation, but it's entirely possible that Iran's neighbors would take advantage of the situation to grab territory. It'd be a frantic, bloody dash to grab as much as they can, like a Black Friday sale, only less violent. The UAE could try to gain control of contested islands Iran controls in the Persian Gulf. The Taliban in Afghanistan could try to get the upper hand in disputes over the Helmand River. And Iraq could do something similar with the rivers it shares with Iran. Mapmakers might be adding extra wings to their homes with all the work they could be soon receiving. There's also tons of different groups in and next to Iran that would love to see Iran collapse. After they get out first, of course. This is understandable since Iran isn't so kind to minorities. Any combination of them could come into power. There's also various Kurdish groups, mostly based in Iraq, some of which have engaged in direct combat with Iran. They're the noisiest Kurds outside the ones made out of cheese. They squeak when you bite into them. That joke was exclusively for our Wisconsin viewers. So the Kurds are already demanding uprisings, doing interviews with Western media, and reportedly having meetings with US officials. These particular groups may or may not partner with other dissident groups in Iran. It really depends, since Persians and Kurds don't always get along. I know, groups in the Middle East not getting along. When has that ever happened? There are also plenty of others who have fought against Iran and have plans for a post-Ayatollah era. Life tip: try to live in such a way that there aren't entire groups fantasizing about a post-you era. A bunch more can be said about other groups. So, could any of the terrorist elements among them come into power? Well, nothing's impossible. Just ask the Taliban. Thanks again for all this equipment you left behind, America. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Iranian Shah and founder and leader of the democratic movement, the National Council of Iran, wants to see Iran become the South Korea of the Middle East, a fully functioning democracy, as opposed to being something worse like North Korea. So does this mean there'd be I-pop, which is a music genre that sounds like an apple soda? The tech company, not the fruit.
ایران دچار جنگ داخلی و بی‌ثباتی نخواهد شد. ما برای آینده ایران و شکوفایی‌اش برنامه داریم. ما برای 100 روز نخست پس از سقوط، دوران گذار و استقرار یک حکومت ملی و دموکراتیک برای ملت ایران و به دست ملت ایران آماده ایم.
But since we're talking about the Middle East, it's understandable why so many people are skeptical that Iran can peaceably become a fully functional democracy. My entire generation is getting PSD hearing about bringing democracy to a Middle Eastern country. Surely that won't be several decades and trillions of dollars down the military-industrial drain. And what about Russia and China? Will they just let things in Iran go up in flames? After all, Russia uses Iranian drones to fight Ukraine, and China buys Iranian oil at a discount. It'd be like an evil version of one of those Disney movies where the kids fight to save their favorite local shop from being replaced. Well, so far, Russia is standing aside for various reasons. The New York Times points out that Putin doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, and that he doesn't want to alienate its other partners, the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Plus, he's sort of busy with his own problems in Ukraine. If Putin really did want to save Iran, he probably wouldn't have let Syria fall in the first place, though it's nice to see a sentence involving something falling and Putin, and it not involving someone dropping out of a tall window. As for China, well, it's doing a lot of lip service for Iran by condemning Israel, but it has done little to actually help Iran. The same thing with Iran's neighbor, Pakistan. Sure, it says it stands in solidarity with Iran, but Pakistan is focusing on securing its borders to Iran by closing pedestrian traffic. So much for being reliable partners. They truly learned nothing from State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Pakistan isn't there. The Israel-Iran conflict is developing fast. As of this recording, a lot of things may have changed, so keep your eyes out for more updates from America Uncovered. The burden I must bear, endlessly clicking away at that refresh button. I yearn for less historic times and maybe a brief, several hundred-year vacation into purgatory. So what do you think? Do you think Iran will actually collapse? What actions should the U.S. take? Leave your comments below. And if you want to support our nonpartisan take on news, click this button to join us at AmericaUncovered.tv. And if you want to see a fun side project I'm working on, check out this video I did about Hogwarts Legacy and why people are still arguing about Harry Potter being woke. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.